Filling in for Kyle Ledbetter today, the only Seahawks fan I trust, Calvin Domingo, Steezy A. Smith. Steezy, Seahawks, Niners. The last time these two teams met in the playoffs, it didn't exactly go my Niners' way. That was the famous Richard Sherman interception. Don't put a sorry ass wide receiver like Crabtree on me moment. This time, the Niners don't have a lot of sorry ass wide receivers. Also, the Seahawks don't have a Richard Sherman on their side. 10-point underdogs going into this one. How you feeling, man? Are you ready for this game?
Man, I'm more than ready. I know a lot of Seahawks fans are out there saying, "Oh, we're playing with house money, yada yada yada. It doesn't matter what happens in the playoffs." I'm with that and all, but I'm not just happy to be here. I want to go out there and play our hearts out. I want to go out there and fight. And I'm not saying that we're gonna upset you guys. You guys are, I think, the most talented team of football, but I do expect a fight. I do expect a close game, and I'm more than ready.
It's crazy that the Seahawks are even here at this point, though. You talk about the playing with house money, because I want to say the last time we talked was the Russell Wilson trade, a moratorium, where we're asking ourselves, why is Pete Carroll still doing this? What's next for Pete Carroll? And Pete Carroll, we're going to have a lot of conversation moving over the course of this postseason of who was coach of the year. You have Pete Carroll, you have Dan Campbell, Kyle Shanahan, Nick Sirianni, all these talented coaches put themselves in the mix. But what Pete was able to do this season and gain this team to the playoffs in a post Russell Wilson era. And I want to say Geno Smith even had one of the greatest Seahawks passing seasons in the franchise history. How blown away are you between Geno and Pete Carroll this year?
I'd have to say I'm more blown away by Geno Smith. Because prior to the season starting, and I'm going to admit it, I know Seahawks fans out there probably aren't going to be, huge fans of me for saying this, but I was actually advocating for Drew Lock, to be the starter. I was there at a lot of the, training camp and practices before the season started, and Geno just wasn't that good. Even in the preseason, he wasn't that good. Drew Lock wasn't very good either, but he was better, at least in my eyes. And so to see what Geno has done, I mean, throw me off, but I ain't right back though, right? Like you said, he set the single season passing record. He led the league in completion percentage 69.8. It's just been remarkable. I mean, we rarely see guys, after having spent what 7, 8, 9 years in the league, and in their 10th year just ball out. I mean, he led the NFC in touchdowns. He was a Pro Bowler. It's just been absolutely remarkable. Pete Carroll, we've seen him do this before with Russell Wilson floundering in Denver. A lot of people are saying that he made Russell Wilson. And so we know what Pete Carroll made of. I know what he's made of. You know what he's made of. Got to be Geno Smith.
Yeah, going into this one, it's not obviously Geno Smith that just a story for you guys. You have a talented young running back in Kenneth Walker, won a lot of people some games in fantasy this year. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, still two talented wide receivers there. The defense has taken a step back, but one thing that I'm going to be interested to watch in this game, and it's a thing that Niners fans are trying to figure out as this goes on. How real is Brock Purdy? Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, 7th-round pick. We all know the story by now. But ever since he stepped in, the 6 games he's been in there, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions thrown, even has a rushing touchdown in there. Going against the Seahawks defense, this is the first time in Purdy's career he will go against the same team twice. And we're going to hear a lot of this week, too. You're facing the team for the 3rd time this year. Look at what happened with the Rams. The Rams, you played them 3 times last year. They beat you in the 3rd game. Could this happen with the Seahawks? How do you think that matchup is going to go between the Seahawks defense and the young rookie quarterback?
See, I think just real quick, I want to address what you said about the Rams, having they didn't have well, the 49ers had the number, but then they came out last year and then beat the 49ers in the championship game. I think the biggest difference between the Rams and the Seahawks team was that Rams football team was elite. The Seahawks team, for as much as I love them, for as much as house money they're playing with, we're not elite by any means. Not yet. So I just want to get that out of the way. But as far as the matchup between Brock Purdy and the defense, hey, I think Seattle's defense right now, Seattle's defense is hot. And I'm not talking about like as far as, not giving up points, not giving up yards, but in takeaways. Quandre Diggs, I think he's returned to form. Tariq Woolen, as you know, tied for the league in interceptions with 6. Kobe Bryant, another rookie cornerback, I think he led the league in forced fumbles. And so we have guys that can get after the football, guys that can force turnovers. And with a guy like Brock Purdy, as impressed as I am, as you are, as everybody else is, this is the playoffs. No rookie quarterback has ever, won the Super Bowl. And that's what the expectations are for the 49ers football team. And so anything less than that, even with a guy like Brock Purdy at quarterback, is going to be less than ideal. And so in an environment like the NFL playoffs, Super Wildcard weekend, I think turnovers are going to be key. If Seattle can force turnovers, if they can force Brock Purdy, to make a bad decision or two, get the football out of his hands, then I think, Seattle could be in for potentially, the upset of the year. But I think with the system that you guys have in place, I mean, Kyle Shanahan's going to do everything in his power to kind of, hold the reins back, let everybody else do the heavy lifting. He's going to be more of a game manager, more of a guy that's going to distribute, not do too much. So we'll see what happens there. But like I said, Seattle's defense, as far as takeaways, they have been on fire lately. So Brock Purdy will be smart not to push the ball too much down the field.
Now, that Week 15 game, the Niners ended up winning at 21-13. It was never really that close. However, there were moments in that game for Purdy that he airmailed it. He threw it at a receiver's feet. He threw it right at Quandre Diggs, but Diggs didn't come down with the interception. I'll say this. If the Niners don't turn the ball over, or Purdy at least limits the turnovers, there's no chance that the Seahawks win. Is that a controversial thing to say?
Not at all. I agree 100%. I mean, there's a reason why the Seahawks are 10-point underdogs, right? And I think for good reason. Seattle's going to have to force a turnover or two. Seattle's going to have to win the turnover battle. If not, I mean, talent-wise, Seattle just does not match up to you guys. And this whole year, I've been saying that the 49ers are going to represent, the NFC in the Super Bowl. Obviously, I'm a Seahawks guy, so for me to say that hurts. But at the same time, I mean, I got to look at things from an unbiased, perspective. And San Fran is just that good, top to bottom. You guys are the best defensive football. Outside of quarterback, I mean, literally have everything on offense. This is a quarterback's dream, right? And so I don't think that's controversial at all.
Outside of quarterback too, but what do you think of Purdy so far? I mean, you saw him in that game against the Seahawks, I'm sure you've been kind of keeping tabs over the last few. Do you think that the Niners found something here? Because when I compare these to the Trey Lance games, he looks a lot better than Trey Lance, a lot more comfortable than Trey Lance did in his starts for the 49ers.
Oh, Brock Purdy looks good. I had him on a couple of my fantasy teams before the fantasy season ended, and I did it for good reason. He's, I think, sneakily mobile. I think he has great command of the offense. I think he looks like a leader. He's poised. He always makes the right play, makes the right decision. He doesn't push the ball too much, or he doesn't force the ball down the field. Yeah, he's had a couple of times here and there where you're just like, wait, what was he doing? But to me, it just looks like he's a guy that everyone in the locker room enjoys being around. They want to play for him, and he doesn't play like the last pick, in this past year's draft. Like, he just looks so much better than that. And like I said, I mean, he's playing with arguably the best supporting cast of football, both offensively, defensively, and on the coaching staff. And maybe that's one of the reasons why he looks good. But I think he looks great, and I'd be surprised if he wasn't the starting quarterback for your Niners next season.
Now, I know you don't want to talk offseason for another week and potentially even further weeks. However, I will say, moving forward for you guys, you have another top 10 pick coming your way because of the Russell Wilson trade. You had some hits on draft picks this year alone. What do you think is the future of the NFC West? We see that Arizona is in dysfunction. We see the Los Angeles Rams. We have this rumor with Sean McVay potentially leaving the broadcast booth. Is it going to be once again Niners Seahawks moving forward?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, you talk about the Cardinals. Kyler Murray towards ACL so late in the season. His availability is already in danger for the start of next season. But if the Cardinals are, if they open next season on a 3, 4, or 5 game losing streak, then it's like, what's the point of rushing him back? So the Cardinals are just an absolute mess. No disrespect. I like Kyler Murray's game, but I've always thought he was slightly overrated to begin with. Cliff Kingsbury was just fired, so we'll see what they do at head coach. I just don't see a future for the Cardinals anytime soon. DeAndre Hopkins might be traded. J.J. Watt just retired. That team is an absolute mess. The Rams, even if they get Matthew Stafford back, he's only getting older. Sean McVay's mulling retirement. Aaron Donald, mulling retirement. Jalen Ramsey, no longer the best corner in football. I mean, yeah, it does come down to Seattle and San Fran. I think both of our teams have youth and just have overall, just from top to bottom, as far as roster construction, just have the most talented teams in the division, and it's only going to get better.
At that 5 spot, what do you think Seattle ends up doing? Do you think that they trade up? Because it seems like, so there's 3 guys, right? Will Levis, Bryce Young, and CJ Stroud. I feel as though 3 teams are going to draft quarterback in the top 4. What do you think the Seahawks do at 5?
Honestly, I think Seattle trades down. If Seattle had retained a top 3 pick, then I would have loved for Seattle to have gone after a Will Anderson Jr., a Jalen Carter. But because it seems more likely than not that they're out of reach for those guys, I think Seattle trades down. There's going to be a team desperate enough. I'm looking at the Panthers. I'm looking at, Maybe the Commanders, if they don't know what they're doing at quarterback, maybe they move all the way into the top 5. There's a lot of quarterbacks out there, and we all know that the price tag for quarterbacks is hefty. And so I think with Seattle, they have a tendency to move down because they're not really in the market or for Jalen Carter or Will Anderson. I think you trade down, you accumulate more picks. You saw how many times Seattle hit on draft picks last year. Why not get more cracks at the egg? So I think Seattle trades down ultimately.
All right, let's get back into the game. If there is a pathway for victory, we mentioned the turnover disparity. What else do you think the Seahawks need to do to beat the Niners this coming Saturday?
I think Geno Smith's going to have the best game of his entire career. I mean, I think we talked about this earlier. He had a career year, but his 2 worst games came against your Niners. And in those 2 games, Seattle has been outscored 48-20. But like you also said, I don't think those games were ever as close as the final scores indicated, especially that Thursday night football game. Seattle was just never really in it. And then in that week 2 matchup, Seattle didn't even score a touchdown offensively. Like that 7 points that you saw on the scoreboard came on special teams. Tariq Woolen returning that block kick for a touchdown. And so Geno Smith, I mean, if there's one weakness on your guys' defense, I think at times the pass defense can be erratic or inconsistent. And so because Seattle does have top-tier weapons in a DK Metcalf, in a Tyler Lockett, Geno Smith's going to have to step it up. We're going to have to see the best game of his entire career. That's really, I think, Seattle's only hope on top of, forcing a couple of turnovers here and there. But, he is that guy, like I said, that led the NFC in touchdowns, that broke, a whole bunch of franchise records for the Seattle Seahawks. I think he's going to have the best game of his career if Seattle's going to have any chance at going for an upset.
So, game prediction?
Man. I think Seattle covers.
Yeah, I was going to say, just go with the Seahawks, man. You always feel worse if, let's say, they do pull off this miraculous upset and you were like the one that was like, but they're going to lose, Just go with your
I feel you on there. I can't. I just can't. I will say this, though. Seattle's going to cover, so that 10-point spread, if you're looking to put money on this game, don't put money on the money line for Seattle. Obviously, put money on the money line for San Fran, but put money on Seattle to cover. I think 10 is a lot, especially, this is the third time that these 2 teams are meeting up. And the third time around, I mean, who knows? Third time could be the charm. That's what they say, right? But I think it's going to be a back and forth affair. I think Brock Purdy is going to turn the ball over at least once. And so Seattle is going to capitalize on that. I do think that we see Geno Smith have a better game than he did in his last 2 meetings against you guys. I did also hear that weather could potentially be a factor. And so we might see a lot of the run on both sides. But ultimately, look, you guys, like I said, I have you guys reaching the Super Bowl, right? And so I think that holds true. And for that to happen, you guys have to come out victorious, right, against my Seattle Seahawks. But like I said, it's going to be close. San Fran wins a close one, 27, Seattle 26.
And I thank you because, like I said, only Seahawks fan I trust to give the honest opinion, the honest take. So, Steezy, no hesitation. I'm also going to pick my 49ers to come out victorious in this game. You mentioned the weather. That could be a big factor. I agree with you, though. I think that this is going to be a lot closer game than people suggest just because familiarity between these 2 teams, NFC West, division foes, division rivals, this game means a lot. So this is not going to be an easy game by any means. Pete Carroll's had a little bit of time to analyze Brock Purdy. I'm sure that he's going to formulate a game plan for success there that's at least going to mitigate him. I think the weather is going to mitigate Brock Purdy a little bit too, and it is going to come down to the running game. Luckily for the Niners, they have an excellent running game between Run CMC, Jordan Mason, hell, even Ty Davis Price comes up, Elijah Mitchell's back and healthy. Oh, and the last time the Seahawks and Niners played, Deebo Samuel wasn't even on the field. So adding Deebo Samuel into that mix. George Kittle has 7 touchdowns over the last 4 games. This Niners team is running full steam ahead. Brandon Ayuk, first 1,000-yard season of his career. There's just a lot of things going on offensively. It's going to be a slot fest. I'm going to pick like somewhere along the lines of like 24-17. A lot similar to like last game where maybe it's a backdoor cover type situation. The final score looks a lot closer than it actually was. I don't think it fully makes up for the Crabtree-Sherman moment, but it's at least a step in the right direction. All right, Steezy. Well, I'm going to kick it to you to like just tell us where to follow you, all your socials, your channel, all that good stuff. Of course, I'm going to have it all in the bio as well, but still, nonetheless.
Man, I just want to say, Juju, thank you so much for having me on. It's been so long. I haven't been as active on my YouTube channel just because I've had so many things happen in the last couple of months. But for those of you guys tuned in, if you aren't already subscribed or following or tuning in to the Slump Buster podcast, I don't know what you're doing even listening while not being subscribed, but please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Follow them on all social media platforms. Once you go do that, you can holler at me. You can find me YouTube, Instagram. I've been really active on Instagram lately. But ask Steezy A. Smith, SteezyASmith. Not only do I cover the Seahawks, I cover a lot of Seattle sports. I try to cover every other sport as well. So if that sounds interesting, you should holler at your boy.
All right, guys. Well, Slump Buster Podcast, as Steve said, follow us on all our socials, all that good stuff. From Juju and Steezy himself, stay safe, happy, and healthy. We will see you next time.